Hi, this is Brent the Climate Guru, and we're continuing our series of exploring different countries that are megadiverse countries. Megadiverse means they have more endemic species found nowhere else on Earth. So we're going to talk about what I think is one of the most fascinating countries in the world, Madagascar, which is an island about the size of Texas or France that lies 250 miles off the southeast coast of Africa in the Indian Ocean. It's 250 miles from the coast of Africa to Madagascar across the Mozambique Channel. Because Madagascar has been separated from Africa and other continents for millions of years, there are species of plants and animals on Madagascar unlike any place in the world. It's the only place where there's lemurs, which are a type of primate, and there are more than 100 lemurs there. There are more reptiles in Madagascar than any place on the planet. We're going to explore a lot of these special animals on Madagascar, but let's try to understand what happened. How did it become Madagascar, the world apart? 600 million years ago, there was a supercontinent on the Earth. It was a continent that contained most of the land masses on Earth, and Africa, India, Madagascar were part of this supercontinent, as was Australia, Antarctica, and South America, and Asia, and Europe. 90 million years ago, Madagascar split from the Indian subcontinent. Plant and animal species evolved in Madagascar, separated from the rest of the world's continents, and over millions of years, we have species of animals unlike any place on the Earth. We're going to explore those. Madagascar has about 30 million people, and 70% of the flora and fauna, the plants and animals in Madagascar are endemic. They exist nowhere else on the world. Because of its special and varied ecosystems, animals and plants there evolved very separately. Madagascar, like most megadiverse countries, is a very varied topography, very varied ecosystem within it, even though it's separate and distinct from the rest of the world. The East Coast has a forest, and it receives cyclones, hot, humid rainfall that comes from the Indian Ocean. The Central Highlands is another very large area, which is drier and cooler. Madagascar's people live in the south part, in the mountains, in the eastern part, and other parts of the country. Madagascar is home to 170 palm species. It has more palm species than the whole continent of Africa has, including the traveler's palm. Many of the native plants are used to make pharmaceuticals, to treat leukemia and other cancers. It has 260 reptiles, 90% of which are endemic, exist nowhere else, especially geckos, chameleons, and others. Two-thirds of the world's chameleons live on Madagascar. Fascinating variety. Some are very large, 2 feet long, and the smallest is called the nano chameleon. If you look at photographs of it, it's so small, it's about half the size of your fingernail. It will sit on the tip of your finger, almost the size of a fly. Most of the butterflies, beetles, dragonflies are endemic, exist nowhere else. We're going to look at a few of those. There are 61 species of terrestrial snails that are endemic. There are lacewings, insects that are very important that control pests and contribute to pollination. Amphibian species, 278, almost all endemic. Frogs, we're going to explore some of those. 99% are endemic. The frogs evolved there in forms unlike any other place on the planet. It was one of the last areas of the planet that humans migrated to, along with the Pacific Islands, including Hawaii, where they arrived about 1,500 years ago in outrigger canoes. Before humans arrived, we have remains, fossils, and bones, fragments of giant lemurs. There were 17 species of giant lemurs that existed in Madagascar before the arrival of humans. They probably became extinct because of hunting by humans. There was a giant bird, a flightless elephant bird, that existed on Madagascar before the arrival of humans. It's the largest bird to ever exist on Earth, 10 feet tall, 180 pounds. We can imagine that the earliest humans hunted it and made it extinct. There was a hippopotamus called the Malagasy hippopotamus, a pygmy hippo that existed on Madagascar. It's unlike any hippo that ever existed except in West Africa, where there are still pygmy hippos today. How did this hippo reach Madagascar? It's just 250 miles from the African coast where hippos live today in full size. Scientists speculate that perhaps when the seas were lower and there were more islands, it swam from island to island across the 250-mile stretch between Madagascar and the African coast. The elephant birds, we don't know whether humans killed them for meat, but we do know that they used the huge eggs for different purposes. The humans that are in Madagascar reflect a blend of different people from different parts of the world. Southeast Asia, Oceania, and also Bantu people from Southeast Africa. So genetically, they trace their ancestry to these three very distinct groups. Probably the most known and studied animal on Madagascar is the lemur. It's a primate, and Madagascar has no other primates like we see in the rest of the world. Monkeys, chimps, gorillas, and they evolved because of their long-term isolation. How did the lemurs get there? There's some speculation that when Madagascar broke off from Africa, there may have been monkeys, and they evolved on. There were some left in Africa who disappeared as monkeys competed with them and made them extinct, and those lemurs who were on Madagascar when it broke off from Africa evolved into a different species over millions of years. They have no competition in Madagascar with other primates. They share behavioral characteristics with monkeys. They associate in social groups. They eat fruit. Madagascar had none of Africa's large mammals, huge elephants, giraffes, monkeys, lions, but has 16 unique land mammal species, including the most renowned, which is the lemur. Perhaps the most well-known is the ring-tailed lemur. There are only about 2 to 2,500 that are left, and of course they're disappearing because of deforestation in Madagascar, mostly from local farming where they use a slash-and-burn agriculture method. The ring-tailed lemur lives in the southwest corner of Madagascar, but can be found throughout diverse habitats. It lives in spiny forests, which are like small cactus trees. The ring-tailed lemur has distinct black and white striped ring tails. Now, the tails are not prehensile. They're not used to hang from trees or for locomotion from limb to limb. They're rather used for mating. There are glands in the lemur's wrists and hands that secrete a certain substance which they rub on their tails, and it's a chemical substance that they wave in the air to attract mates. The ring-tailed lemur has very sensitive eyes and a very sensitive sense of smell with a long nose. The eyes they're reflect at night like foxes and deer, and they have very good night vision. The lower incisors, teeth, are like combs, and they continuously grow. If you look at pictures of them, they're like a comb, and they're used for grooming of themselves and other members of their troop. The ring-tailed lemur has very advanced vocalization for communication with its troop, including for group cohesion and warning of predators. One of the other most interesting lemurs is called the eye. It has bat-like ears, and it's about 4 pounds and about 2 feet long. It's nocturnal and arboreal. It lives almost exclusively in trees. The most distinguished characteristic is its long middle finger, which has a ball and socket, allowing it to move in all directions. Taps tree trunks, almost like a woodpecker, with its long finger, to look for an echo, to find tree-boring grubs that are inside. When it hears a hollow part of the tree, it bites a hole in the tree and puts in its long, skinny fingers with the ball joint to extract these grubs, these insects. The eye sleep during the day in nests in the trees, and then are very active at night. Local native groups of Malagasy people think that the eye lemur is evil. They believe that its long middle finger, if it points at you, you're marked for death. It's also killed for meat. There's an animal, a carnivorous animal in Madagascar called the fossa. It's described like a small cougar. It weighs about 12 to 19 pounds, is 28 to 31 inches long, a little more than 2 feet long, and it has semi-retractable claws, and its diet is lemurs. At first, scientists weren't sure how to classify it, and eventually determined that it's a cat-like animal, endemic to Madagascar, exists nowhere else. It's the largest mammalia carnivore in Madagascar. The fossa depends on forests for its habitation, and unfortunately, forests are quickly disappearing in Madagascar, and there's also fragmentation. And some of the villagers hunt fossa for meat, adding to its vulnerability. There's a tortoise called a spider tortoise, found only in southwest Madagascar, in semi-arid scrublands and spring forests. These are tiny, 5 inches long, beautiful little turtles. The top of the shell is dark brown or black with yellow patterns of webbing. It's critically endangered because of the pet trades. It's illegal to capture these and sell them, but it happens a lot. And I looked online, and there are even pet traders, companies that sell these in Florida and other places. A single spider tortoise is for sale online for $1,000. A pair, male and a female, they have for sale for $6,500. Madagascar has nocturnal geckos. They are highly camouflaged, some of them resembling bark. If you look at pictures of them, they look like bark of trees or dead leaves, how they blend in. Madagascar has 1/2 of the world's chameleons. One of them, Labort's chameleon, is fascinating. It has a life cycle of only 4 to 5 months. It lays eggs, and all the adult population die off until the eggs that are buried underground will hatch. The chameleons are also threatened by the illegal pet trade. Madagascar has an unusual snake. There's no venomous snake, but there's a snake called the spear-nosed snake. If you look at these pictures, it's yellow and tan in color, and the females are grayish. The Parsons chameleon is the largest chameleon. It's 2 feet long, emerald green. It's beautiful, with black stripes, bulging red eyes. It lives in the rainforest in eastern Madagascar. It lays eggs underground, and the eggs take 2 years to hatch. Madagascar has a weevil called the giraffe-necked weevil. It's red and black, and the males have very elongated necks, as you can see from this photograph. Madagascar is being deforested. 90% of the forests in Madagascar are gone over the last 100 or more years. Cutting of timber persists, and a lot of the deforestation is from local slash and burn agricultural methods of the local population. They'll come into an area, they'll burn it, they'll wait for a period of time, and then they'll plant in it, which has richer nutrients in the soil. Madagascar is one of the poorest countries in the world. Most of the 30 so million people live on less than $1.90 a day, and more than half live in rural areas and look to the forests, areas for resources. They make charcoal. They cut down the trees for charcoal, for food, for building materials. Because of the extreme poverty, the Malagasy population hunts animals, even hunts the endangered lemurs. So the small farmers, they slash and burn, and the herdsmen have destroyed much of Madagascar's forests and the unique habitat where these special animals and plants have evolved. So many of them are in danger of extinction. All of the lemurs in Madagascar are endangered. Sir Richard Branson, of course, who founded Virgin Atlantic Airways, I saw him in a movie where he's on Madagascar exploring the endangered species, particularly the lemurs, and he interviewed Dr. Russell Meyer, who's a lemur expert, and explained how so many are endangered by habitat destruction and also the illegal pet trade of lemurs. There are efforts by NGOs as well as the Madagascar government to preserve parts of the country, preserve forests, natural areas, create parks, and to preserve the wildlife in the protected areas. It has 144 wildlife protected areas, and in 2003 the government promised to triple protected areas from 5 million acres to 15 million acres. The Malagasy government is spending $7 million to restore critical coastal systems, mangroves, forests, and teaching the local people how to engage in sustainable fishing. They're educating local people to understand that preserving natural areas, preserving forests, is very good economically. It attracts tourists, ecotourists, and if they preserve it, they can survive when these types of activities develop. But it's not been easy to preserve forests in Madagascar because of the desperate needs of the local poor population who depend upon it for charcoal, for food, for building materials. In 2018, Madagascar had the largest loss of tropical forests proportionately in relation to its land size in the entire world. The World Wildlife Fund manages 4 protected areas in the country. The Peregrine Fund runs 62,000 hectares of a stretch of land on Madagascar's west coast. It helps protect dry forests, mangrove lakes, and helps preserve local fishing. Only 10% of Madagascar's forests remain. There's a peninsula on northeast coast of Madagascar called the Masol Peninsula. It's the only remaining area of lowland forest areas. It's magnificent. It's surrounded by coral reefs, and there lives the red ruffled lemur, serpent eagle, red owls, and surrounded by humpback whales, dolphins, and sea turtles. The Madagascar government decided to establish a national park in the area with the Wildlife Conservation Society. Because of the extreme poverty in Madagascar, it's very challenging for the government and outside environmental groups, NGOs, to preserve the forest. But efforts are being made on the peninsula and elsewhere in many national parks and preservation areas, and we're hopeful that many of these unique species that we've described and many others that we haven't described will be able to survive there, since they exist nowhere else on the planet, evolving millions of years separate from the rest of nature.